What up, everybody? This is my Tulsa King, episode 3, Caprice. Breakdown and reaction. So, the show started out introducing us to a future op named Kalon Waltrip. I hope I'm saying that right, but Kalon Waltrip, he is the head of a motorcycle gang in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he gets a man to explode his house. He says the ATF agency is outside the man's house. Waltrip pulls up and he screams at the man that they left you with no choice. And as Kalon was walking away or being escorted away by the ATF agents, the man decides to blow up his house and I guess take his own life instead of giving up whatever he had inside the house or whatever was going on there. I'm not really sure, but I guess he had most likely had something inside the house that he didn't want the ATF agents to find, so he decided to blow up the entire house and take his own life in the process. So later on in the show, we learned that Kalon Waltrip, the head of the motorcycle gang, is arming up with guns and ammunition, and we also learned that you cannot even get within 20 feet of Waltrip without bumping into his number 2, a guy named Pike. So definitely expect Waltrip to be a big time player moving forward in this show. Is one of Dwight's main competitors in the Tulsa, Oklahoma area. It gets me to the next storyline of this episode, which is Tyson, Dwight's driver. He asked Dwight, where does Dwight see him in 5 years? And Dwight asked him, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And Tyson said he wants to be a capo. So Dwight told him he can't be no capo and that he ain't really built for that kind of life. He's not a choir boy, but he's not a bad guy either. So, or he's not a Boy Scout, but he's not a bad guy neither. So he's somewhere in between. But Tyson has admirations to get into the game. And I did make a comparison in another video to the guy from the movie American Gangster, Frank Lucas, who started out as a driver for, I can't remember the guy's name. He started out driving. He was a driver for a big time mob boss or something in New York. So definitely Tyson could learn the life from Dwight and become something in the streets himself. So after Dwight gets shot at, which I'll get to a little bit later in this particular video, he offers Tyson a severance package, offering him to move on because he doesn't want to get Tyson killed. But Tyson said he wants in, so Dwight tells him this is your choice and not mine, and Tyson agrees that this is what he wants to do. So he wants to prove himself to Dwight. He's ready to get his hands dirty. And we also learned that Tyson is 25 years old, so he's not just a kid like we thought he was, Dwight calling him a kid. He's actually 25 years old, so he knows what he's doing. And we see him practicing in the mirror, and his dad hears he's practicing being tough because he's not really a tough guy. It's like Dwight was trying to explain to him. He's not a bad guy, but he was practicing in the mirror, and his dad hears it. His dad was definitely disturbed by that. So Tyson is green in the streets. He really doesn't have that kind of street knowledge or street smarts, whatever you want to call it, in the street savvy. So I think he's going to try to be hard before, instead of just laying back as Dwight's driver, learning and stepping into it. I think he's going to try to force himself into something. And I think he's gonna get caught up by trying to do something probably outside of Dwight, trying to stand up for Dwight or something like that in the future. Mike could find himself getting into some trouble. It gets me to the next storyline, which is the party going on at Bodie's place. I don't know what else to call it. It's called a party going on, where Dwight learns about the N2O, the nitrous oxide that Bodie's selling it for $5 a pop, but at this event that's about to go on for the next week, so probably the next episode, they can sell it for $10 a pop. So we asked Bodie how many balloons per tank, and he said about 350 balloons per tank. So Dwight meets up with the bartender. Can't remember his name right now off the top of my head, but Dwight meets up with the bartender. I think his name is Mitch, and Mitch is going to order 10 tanks, and they're going to sell the balloons at $10 a balloon. So they plan on making a little over 100,000 that weekend, 105,000 to be exact. So, and there is another competitor. Bodie called them they, and Dwight asked who they were, and Bodie said they are off the grid, kind of off the grid. So I think it's going to end up being the same motorcycle gang headed by Keelan Waltrip that I started off talking about at the beginning of this video. I think they're going to run into problems with them in the future, next episode, in regards to stepping on their territory at the musical festival, in regards to making all that money. Because I mean, if you're making 100K and someone's about to step in and try to step on your territory, you're gonna be ready to try see what's going on, who's getting into your pockets. So be ready for Keelan Waltrip's group gang and Dwight and them to collide in the next episode. But I don't want to get into the next episode. I'm sticking with this particular one. It gets me into Armand, aka Manny, taking the shot at Dwight while Dwight is taking the driver's test, and it actually helped Dwight out a little bit, because after Dwight chases Armand down to no prevail, he uses the driver instructor to get info on the car that Armand was using. So, and he also, we see that Agent Stacy Beal gets Dwight out of the jail, the questioning by the local Tulsa police department, who were really holding Dwight for no particular reason. She came out and got him out of that situation. So that gets me into now Dwight gets it. He has Tyson get him a new whip. He got the driving instructor to get him the information about the Caprice, and he finds the information about the horse ranch that Armand, I think Armand's the owner. So I'm kind of confused, because before they had called him boss, when they called him, we found out he's going by the name alias Manny. So they called him boss, but there was a lady owner of this particular ranch, and it is a ranch called Venerio Ranch. So I'm thinking that is an Italian name. So I'm thinking that is how Dwight figured out that Armand was involved with this particular ranch. I'm thinking this might be Armand's last name, his real last name, because when he speaks to the lady owner, he says Mrs. Venerio, and she gives him another name. She said this is just the name of the ranch, but I think that might be Armand's wife, and I think the Venerio might be his real last name. So just a shot, but nonetheless, he knew that Armand worked there, because he waited outside after he met the woman, and he waited for Armand to pull out. So he waited specifically for Armin to leave that ranch. So he knew something gave away that Armin was there, and he follows Armin home, and he's about to go and kill him, but then he sees him with his kids. And I'm pretty sure that the Italian mafia has a rule, they don't do anything to kids. So he puts his gun up, and we're gonna have to wait for another episode to see how this concludes. That gets me to a question I have. I addressed this in my trailer video for this particular episode, that Dwight is going to need to get a gun, and we see he already has a gun. So I would have preferred to see how Dwight went about getting his gun and who he got that gun from, instead of seeing him go to the driver's branch. And they could have sped the driver's branch and the bank, credit card, all that up a little bit, and showed us how Dwight, a felon with a big old rap sheet, found a gun in an area where he's not really have any criminal associates. That would have been something I would have been really interested in. And my final complaint, that's just one complaint. My other complaint, I should say, is that the shows are only 40 minutes. I was hoping it was only going to be the first 2 episodes, but no. I love the show, but man, we need more. Only 40 minutes. Really wish they would have gave us an hour, at least 55 minutes on these particular shows. But there you have it, my breakdown for Tulsa King Episode 3, Caprice.